Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a part two of our classroom management deep dive. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right. So it's very important to have smooth transitions when in classrooms. You don't want to, take too long with passing out materials. You don't want to take too long, figuring out what the next part of your lesson is. Um, because if there are any gaps in your instruction, especially when it seems unclear what students are supposed to do, then there's going to be some off-task behavior, and with that comes those behavioral challenges. So, um, use consistent attention signals when starting class, when transitioning. I've seen a lot of different attention signals. Um, the my teacher, co-teacher uses a chime. There's like the gimme five. There's clap once. Here, if you hear me, clap once. Blah blah blah. There's tons of them. So whatever works for you. Um, as far as materials, I would ensure that everything is ready to go, printed beforehand, um, and then enlist students' help with this, right? Like hire a paper pass router or whatever, paper passer. Um, Students do really well with jobs and they take their jobs really seriously if that's something that you're consistent with. And then it makes things run a lot smoother if students are helping out with things like distributing papers. So there are going to be times when things feel chaotic and high energy in your classroom, right? It happens to the best of us. The most important thing in these situations is to stay calm. It's it's true that students will mirror your energy. So if you're reacting, if you're yelling, if you're, you know, elevated, then students are going to pick up on that and feed into it. Um, you're going to want to convey confidence with your body language and proximity. So that's going to involve some mindfulness because we're not always cognizant of our stature, like our posture, the way that we look to students. So it really helps to pause and kind of imagine yourself from the student's perspective. And then it's really important that you know your triggers. Um, and this might involve some self reflection. For me, a trigger is when I feel like I don't have control over a class, right? If I'm in a classroom and students are kind of doing whatever they want, they're like talking about whatever they want, and there's me, the teacher, like that's a very high stress situation for me. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So, what's important is that you recognize that that's a trigger. You recognize that automatically you're going to feel elevated, right? Your stress levels are going to be high. So it's important that you take deep breaths, that you practice those soothing strategies so that you can get yourself to a regulated state for your students. So this is my plug for calm.com. I promise they're not a sponsor, but I am a huge proponent of meditation. It's really useful to me as a teacher to help me regulate when things get stressful. So, if you're interested, I would suggest to try it. Other people have different strategies. Some people are religious and they use prayer or they listen to inspirational music. There's tons of ways that you can really connect with a sense of calm. All right. So this is quite topical because we just had parent teacher conferences. So it's really important that you are strategic about your relationships with families. A very common pitfall is to only contact parents when you are dealing with negative behaviors. And That might work for, the first couple of times, right? A lot of parents are supportive if you are having challenges with the student's behavior. They might be responsive the first couple of times, but then it becomes, oh, it's always my child. Like, they feel like, oh, this teacher's picking on me. And then that's when the relationship can turn sour. So, you're going to want to be proactive with these relationships. Say you notice a student in your class is having challenges. I would reach out to the parent before you have to when there's a challenge, right? Be like, oh, I'm so and so's teacher. I noticed that they like such and such. And I was wondering if you had any other, information that you wanted to share about, so that way you're expressing a genuine interest in the student. And when challenges arise, then you're kind of in a position where you're supporting the parents rather than you are against the parent because you've already established that positive connection. Um, Also, when you're dealing with behavioral challenges in the classroom, it can feel very vulnerable, right? And I noticed a lot of new teachers, they tend to want to hide away when things are getting challenging in the classroom, right? They don't really want other people to judge them, so they just kind of insulate themselves. And that is not a very productive thing to do, right? You're going to want to reach out for support. If there is a teacher in your building who you notice has certain strengths, reach out to them. Be like, oh, well, I noticed that you do this in your class and I'm interested in doing this as well. What's your advice? And then, of course, work feels a lot better when it feels like, people are supporting each other and everybody's on the same team. It feels kind of icky to just, be to yourself and everybody else seems to have it together except for you, right? So put yourself out there, seek support, be part of your school community. All right. So, like I said in the beginning, classroom management is a skill, it's not a trait, right? So there's no such thing as people who are inherently good at classroom management and people who are inherently bad, right? It's a set of skills that we learn over time. So what's really important is to be reflective about your practice, what's working, what's not, and if it's not working, try something new and make sure you're consistent with whatever you try that's new, right? We don't want to try something new and then it fails and then it's like, oh, okay, well, there goes that, right? We want to be consistent before, trying the next thing. You're also going to want to observe patterns and behaviors in your classroom. That's going to help you design strategies and help you figure out that'll help you narrow down what strategies to try. And then lastly, don't put yourself in a silo. Ask mentors for feedback, observe experienced teachers, and of course, I'm here as your district based mentor to provide any advice and any strategies on classroom management.